The second you start needing their approval, something shifts. And without warning, the respect, attention, and responses begin quietly disappearing. Most people think being liked earns attention. It doesn't. The moment you start needing approval, you quietly signal something far more powerful than friendliness. You signal dependency. And dependency changes how people read you. Conversations shorten, replies slow down, invitations fade.
Nothing dramatic happens on the surface, yet the social temperature drops. This isn't random, and it isn't just modern culture. As Carl Jung observed, the personality people show the world, the mask built for acceptance, often repels the very recognition it was designed to secure. Because when your energy shifts from expressing yourself to managing how you're perceived, others stop seeing certainty and start sensing negotiation.
And here's the unsettling part. Most people never notice the exact moment this shift begins. But once you see the pattern, you'll recognize why approval-seeking almost always produces the opposite result. At the base of every social interaction, there's an unspoken calculation happening faster than conscious thought. Is this person stable in themselves, or are they adjusting to win reactions?
Humans evolved to read this because certainty signals safety, while visible need signals risk. Approval-seeking isn't detected through words. It leaks through timing, tone, hesitation, over-explaining, soft laughter after statements, and the subtle habit of checking faces before finishing a sentence. None of these look dramatic alone. Together, they broadcast one message: my position depends on your response.
Psychologically, this shifts your role from participant to applicant, and applicants are evaluated, not respected. This is why someone can be kind, intelligent, even attractive, yet still feels socially overlooked. Their behavior keeps asking for permission to exist comfortably in the interaction. Once that dynamic forms, others unconsciously move into the higher position, the judge, the decider, the one whose reaction matters more.
Carl Jung described something close to this through the idea of the persona, the social mask built to gain acceptance. The problem isn't that the mask exists. Everyone has one. The problem begins when maintaining the mask becomes more important than expressing the self beneath it. At that point, communication stops feeling like expression and starts feeling like performance. And people instinctively withdraw from performances that seem driven by need rather than conviction. You can see this in everyday situations. The coworker who constantly apologizes before speaking gets interrupted. The friend who repeatedly checks whether their suggestion is okay stops being asked to decide. The date who rushes to agree with every opinion slowly loses intrigue. Nothing openly hostile occurs. The attention simply drains away, quietly and consistently. Here's the part most people get completely backward. Approval-seeking doesn't make others reject you because they dislike you. It makes them downgrade you because your behavior quietly hands them the psychological upper position. Status in human interaction is rarely declared. It's inferred from who appears most comfortable without the other's validation. The person who seems able to walk away mentally is read as higher value. The person who seems to need the interaction to go well is read as lower leverage. This isn't a moral judgment. It's an automatic ranking process the brain performs to predict social stability. So when you soften your opinion before stating it, laugh to neutralize your own point, over-justify a simple request, or rush to fill silences, you think you're making the interaction smoother. What you're actually doing is signaling that the outcome matters more to you than to them. And the moment that imbalance becomes visible, attention shifts away from you.
Paradoxically, the behaviors meant to avoid rejection are the exact behaviors that create it. This is why two people can say the same sentence and get completely different reactions. One speaks as if the response is optional. The other speaks as if the response determines their standing. The words match. The perceived dependence does not. Once you understand this, social invisibility stops feeling mysterious.
It becomes traceable to a single hidden variable. Not what you say, but how much you appear to need it to be accepted. Here's the uncomfortable truth most never admit. The more you chase approval, the faster people mentally check out. It's invisible, subtle, but relentless. And by the time you realize you've been ignored, the pattern is already ingrained. Most won't notice it themselves, but once you see the exact behaviors that trigger this, you can't unsee them. In every social exchange, there's an unspoken power balance, and approval-seeking flips it without most people realizing. Power isn't granted by loudness, wealth, or charm. It's inferred through perceived independence. Those who seem least affected by others' judgments are automatically read as higher status, even if they're quietly observing from the sidelines. Conversely, anyone displaying dependence, hesitation, or need for validation is instantly lowered in the relational hierarchy. Take corporate settings, for example. A junior employee who constantly asks, "Is this okay?" or over-explains decisions doesn't look cooperative, they look insecure. Managers unconsciously stop consulting them for input. The attention, respect, and influence that could have been theirs are quietly siphoned off. Meanwhile, someone who speaks with conviction, even when they risk mild disapproval, commands presence. Their words aren't louder, they carry weight because the person delivering them seems untethered from the need for external approval. Political leaders operate under the same principle. Leaders who appear overly eager to win approval from advisors, the public, or peers are often undermined behind closed doors. Even subtle behaviors, nodding too frequently, mirroring reactions, over-explaining decisions, signal dependence. Subordinates sense it, and the implicit authority shifts away from the dependent figure. Socially, the pattern is just as stark. In dating, friendship, and networking, people gravitate toward those who project autonomy. The person constantly checking reactions or seeking reassurance quickly becomes invisible. Attention isn't withdrawn out of cruelty, it's an automatic recalibration of perceived influence. The psychological mechanism is straightforward. Humans are wired to prioritize interactions with those who signal self-sufficiency. Neediness, approval-seeking, and hesitation act as invisible markers, shifting the observer into the higher position. The moment someone unconsciously perceives this imbalance, the social gravity tilts, leaving the dependent individual subtly ignored. Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward reclaiming influence. By observing the behaviors that convey dependence and deliberately minimizing them, you stop signaling that your standing is negotiable. Power, respect, and attention are not things granted. They are signals read, interpreted, and responded to by every person you encounter. And the most effective social influence comes not from asking, but from projecting that your approval is optional, not necessary. Beneath the surface of every interaction lies a subtle, automatic pattern. Humans constantly read for cues of dependence and autonomy. Approval-seeking acts as an invisible marker, alerting others that your social energy is contingent on their response. This triggers a cascade of psychological adjustments in observers. They don't consciously reject you, they reposition themselves in the hierarchy, often without realizing it. Psychologists describe this as a shift in perceived agency. Agency is the degree to which someone appears self-directed rather than reactive. When your words, tone, or body language imply that you need someone else's approval, your perceived agency drops. The effect is almost immediate. Conversational interruptions increase, invitations to speak decrease, and your ideas begin to carry less weight.
Even subtle behaviors, like laughing to preempt disagreement, hesitating before offering an opinion, or softening statements to avoid conflict, act as silent signals of dependency. Consider historical examples. Leaders who projected confidence in the face of uncertainty commanded influence far beyond their official power. Carl Jung highlighted that the persona, the social mask, can be effective only when it aligns with underlying self-assurance. When the mask becomes a tool to manipulate perception rather than express reality, observers detect inconsistency. This creates cognitive friction. The brain registers the need for approval and instinctively withdraws attention. In modern digital spaces, the pattern is amplified. Social media, messaging apps, and online forums make approval-seeking nearly transparent. Every double tap, like, or over-explained comment communicates dependence. People unconsciously recalibrate their engagement. The more someone appears to chase validation, the more invisible their presence becomes within social networks. This mechanism also explains why some highly competent individuals are overlooked in professional or social settings. Their skills are clear, but subtle signals of approval seeking undermine perceived autonomy. Influence is not just about skill or knowledge. It is about how consistently your presence communicates self-sufficiency. Understanding this pattern allows for conscious intervention. By minimizing behaviors that signal dependency, anticipatory agreement, excessive reassurance, you stop the subconscious recalibration that causes invisibility. The dynamic is not about manipulation. It's about restoring equilibrium. When you project that your standing does not hinge on external approval, attention, respect, and influence naturally follow. This is the hidden calculus of human interaction. Approval is a signal, not a reward. And until you recognize the mechanism, you remain invisible, chasing validation that pushes people further away. Notice how strange it feels to realize these patterns exist. Most social dynamics happen beneath awareness, like currents in water you can't see but always feel. People smile, nod, or respond politely, yet subtle shifts in attention and engagement are constantly unfolding around you. You may have experienced it before without knowing why. Why a colleague suddenly stops seeking your opinion, why a friend seems distant after minor interactions, or why conversations that used to flow effortlessly now feel strained. These aren't coincidences. They're patterns of human perception reacting to signals of dependence or autonomy. Observing them quietly, without judgment, gives you a moment to step back and watch social behavior for what it truly is, a constantly shifting map of influence and attention. The most unsettling truth is that invisibility isn't inflicted, it's co-created. Every subtle gesture, every hesitation, every preemptive agreement you make sends a signal before a word is spoken. My presence depends on your response. And humans, wired to detect dependence, adjust instantly. Attention drifts, respect diminishes, influence is quietly redirected. The lesson isn't to manipulate others, it's to reclaim agency. Awareness is the first weapon. Recognize the micro behaviors that signal need, softening your statements, laughing to preempt disagreement, over-explaining, checking reactions mid-sentence. These are not flaws in character. They are reflexes conditioned by social pressures, past experiences, and desire for acceptance. But when left unchecked, they determine how the world perceives you, often in ways invisible until it's too late. Leadership, influence, and social authority emerge from projecting autonomy, even in small interactions. The paradox is stark. The more optional you make your approval, validation, or agreement, the more others orient toward you.
People instinctively respect presence that is self-contained, untethered from their judgment. You can observe this in boardrooms, social circles, and digital spaces alike. Carl Jung's concept of the persona becomes particularly relevant here. The mask you wear is only powerful when it aligns with internal self-assurance. When the mask is maintained out of dependency, it backfires. Others perceive need before your intent is conscious. Recognition, respect, and influence are responses to perceived independence, not to the words or charm you employ. Ultimately, self-awareness transforms invisibility into presence. By observing and controlling the subtle signals of dependence, you shift the unspoken hierarchy back into your favor. You stop being someone who is quietly ignored and start becoming someone whose presence is naturally acknowledged. The dark irony is clear. The more you stop seeking approval, the more approval, attention, and respect gravitate toward you, silently and undeniably. Step back for a moment and simply watch. Notice how people naturally respond to those who seem unshaken by their judgment versus those who appear to need affirmation. Attention isn't won by words or charm. It's drawn by presence. Think about everyday interactions, meetings, group chats, even casual conversations. Who do people turn to first? Who do they defer to? The pattern is subtle, almost invisible, but it repeats constantly. Observing it without reacting gives you clarity. You start to see where dependency leaks, where influence shifts, and how small adjustments in behavior can silently reclaim your social standing. Here's the final truth to carry with you. Social invisibility isn't punishment, it's feedback. Every glance, every pause, every fading response is a mirror reflecting how your presence is perceived. And most people never notice the exact behaviors that push them out of focus, leaving them wondering why influence slips through their fingers. But once you see it, the game changes. You realize that approval seeking isn't harmless. It's a signal that rewires perception instantly. The moment you stop depending on others for validation, the dynamic flips. People stop overlooking you. Conversations stop evaporating. Decisions stop passing you by. Influence returns quietly, consistently, and without fanfare. The unsettling part, few are aware of the invisible calculus that governs attention. Most continue chasing approval, unknowingly reinforcing their own invisibility. And the more desperate the need, the faster it spreads. Now, the choice is yours. Will you continue signaling dependence, letting subtle cues dictate how others engage with you? Or will you observe, adjust, and reclaim autonomy, projecting a presence that is untouchable, respected, and inherently magnetic? Once you understand this pattern, there's no turning back. You'll notice it everywhere, in friends, colleagues, strangers, even online. The silent hierarchy never sleeps, and the person who stops seeking approval first becomes the one others can't ignore.